subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and put the comments.
Share, comment, help the algorithm.
Uh, Hello, welcome back to All Things Cinema podcast. And today I've got Ashmita back from last year. I think we did Minal Murli together with
Yes.
Nona Prince. So one similarity that Ashmita and me both have is that video she did from our old house and I did from my old house. Now we both have moved to different houses. She has moved to a different city. So Ashmita, I hope my hometown Delhi is treating you all well. I thought let's talk about Gehraiyaan. Although it's not that popular film with my audiences because my major audience comes from South. But I'm sure
Right.
everybody knows about the film. There was a lot of hype about it, and who doesn't know Deepika Padukone? She's doing a film after so long, so
Right.
people were expecting quite a bit going by the trailer and going by the expectations. So first of all, if I ask you, was the expectation you had, were they met, or were they exceeded, or were they not up to the mark?
I think they sort of met and also not. I feel the trailer was quite different from what the movie was, and which is okay because that is something that I am used to now. Because in Malayalam films, you see that the trailer is something else and the movie is completely different. It gives you that shock value. And Bollywood films, usually trailers don't do that. They technically give out the entire plot and the premise. So there was a lot of hue and cry after the trailer dropped, as we all know, because so many people said, "Oh, it's about cheating, and look how they're glamorizing this topic and this and that." So I said, you know what? Let's just let the movie release because it's Shakun Batra, and I mean that dude has some sense in his mind. So I'm pretty sure, there's a lot more that he has to say through these four characters, which I'm pleasantly surprised and I'm very glad that that was the case because the movie is absolutely something else. Only it talks about trauma. It talks about flawed people. It talks about that. Yeah, no, it never justifies anything that okay, this was right, this was morally wrong. It's just said that yeah, this happens. Now you be the judge and you decide for yourself if you say this is okay or if you say this is not okay. So I think that way it definitely met my expectations. I wouldn't say it exceeded my expectations because there were bits and parts where I thought the movie was a little bit dragging for me, in terms of I have mixed feelings on the editing of the film. But story wise and character development wise, also, I feel like Deepika and Siddhant's characters, they were really explored well. But the remaining two, even though they were supporting cast, I thought they should have been given a good nuanced storyline or a character arc, which was not done. For Ananya, maybe a little bit, but for the other guy, I forget his name. What's the actor's name? See, this is what I don't have a recall value of this guy. But I think his character was really sensible in the movie, and he should have been, given a little bit of more spotlight. So that way, I wouldn't say it exceeded my expectation, but yeah, somewhat it met my expectations.
Yeah, and it's a pleasing change that the trailer is telling something else and we are getting to see something else because usually Bollywood trailers are so predictable. They kind of give away a lot of information, and then all
Full
the
story. Sometimes full story.
the music, and then the visuals, the color tones, and of course the chemistry between Deepika and Siddhant. So all these things were really building up towards it, and when it came out, so tell me something. Before the film came out, you could see a lot of trolls and memes based on the trailer, right? Once the
Right.
film came out, they are still going on. So
Right.
how insensitive of somebody that okay, one could understand that before the film is out, before knowing the story, they were assuming things that they are
Right.
glorifying infidelity. But even after the film is out, and they've handled that subject with great sense of sensibility and sensitivity.
Mm.
Why are people still hating it, or just creating that negative image about it? Can you point to any particular reason for that?
I don't know. I can't really point. I think it has to. I don't think it's really specific to this film. I think it has a lot to do with this, boiling hatred that now people have generally for Bollywood. I feel that even if there is one thing that doesn't conform with their ideology or their thinking, they just go straight on. Like, we have now a cancel culture in Bollywood. That is for sure. That is for sure. So I think if there is a certain dislike for an actor or an actor's thinking, an actor taking or not taking a stand for something, I think that is what now this Hindi film industry audience has all become all about. Just going to IMDb, trashing a film, giving negative reviews. I mean, you cannot agree with the story. That's fine, because there are so many. Movie liking is very subjective. I mean, like, for example, I enjoyed Gehraiyaan, but my husband did not enjoy Gehraiyaan. He's like, this is not the kind of film that I want. I am already, like, going to office. I have all my stress and all of that. I want to watch a film for pure entertainment. So that is his thinking. He's like, I don't want to think too much while, I'm just, coming from office all tired, and then I'm watching a film like Gehraiyaan, which is forcing me to think. So
But
that's one opinion.
I think that
That's one.
the difference there also might be because you watch with a more critical eye, and you have to watch a lot of stuff throughout, the year and around the world. But for him,
Correct.
he's more of a layman kind of viewer. He doesn't watch with the same
Yeah,
perspective as you do. So that's understandable.
correct. So yeah, so that's what I'm saying. So you can, anyway, you are, you can have that opinion that yes, I do not like this film, but there is a difference between not liking and just blatantly hating. So this latter thing is happening here, and I don't think it's because of the film. It is because I feel, this is my reasoning, that it's because of the collective hate that people now have for Bollywood at this moment, and which has not gone. I think since COVID, we had the lockdown, and for the unfortunate death of Sushant Singh Rajput, and from there, and then Karan Johar Kangna, that debate started, and from there it's been non-stop. It has not faded down. So, and it's not going to fade down. From what I am seeing, it's not going to fade down. And the Hindi movies, well, will suffer like this a little bit, I feel. So unless and until it's a proper, like Suryavanshi did so well, because yeah, it's not trying to prove anything. Basically, it's just a movie for entertainment. Go watch it, come back, and that's it. So yeah, that's what I feel. It's the hate for Bollywood. It's not the hate for the topic or the movie. For me, that's what I feel.
That way, Badhaido is also a good example because there also a very delicate subject is involved, and I have seen both parties there also. One inclined towards the film and one saying, one canceling the film and what the content is. So yeah, I can understand. I mean, you gave a very good example of Dil Bechara just because that sympathy element was there. Dil Bechara, not being a great film, had such good IMDb ratings because of the sentiments of people involved. So
Correct.
since then I've stopped taking IMDb ratings seriously for any Hindi film. Uh, and
Correct.
now coming back to the film, uh, I I was talking to Nona also about Gehraiyaan. I really wanted to have a female perspective now. So definitely they have not really glorified or scandalized or glamorized infidelity or cheating per se, but there is infidelity involved between those characters.
Right. Right.
As a female, how did you perceive it? I mean, did you think that the reasons were good enough for them to be in getting involved in such a way, and then later on, did you think they resolved it in a proper way, giving the message that infidelity is morally wrong and it can have very bad consequences?
I think for me, so just if I say character wise, first Siddhant's character, he has always been like the cunning kind, that you can see from whatever decisions that he has taken. He wants to be at the top, then because he sort of, you can say, uses Ananya Pandey's money and wealth to reach that position, but he still feels that he's under her shadows because she's the rich one. uh, then I feel Siddhant was an opportunist in every possible way, in every possible way. So he's not a good guy. That is the vibe that he used to give from the beginning. Now with Deepika's, hers is much more complicated because she is in a stable relationship for 6 years and she feels stuck. Now my only thing, so where I was a little bit, thinking to myself that okay, like put yourself in her shoes. If I'm in a very very stable relationship but I have a past trauma, so she never dealt with it. Basically the basic thing is that she never dealt with it, and the partner had to suffer the consequences, that because he got cheated on, obviously. And then the father also never received that kind of love from her because she completely blocked him out. And father had his own reasons, like Nasiruddin Shah had his own reasons. So Deepika's character extremely, extremely complicated, and she's feeling stuck. Her yoga studio is not working. So she is meeting Siddhant at probably the lowest point in her life at that moment because nothing is working out, right? So Siddhant, being an opportunist, okay, takes full advantage of Deepika. So I feel that if Siddhant just gave at that particular moment a shoulder to cry on, she would have maybe not gone that way. Maybe that's also maybe, but because it was very obvious the signals that he was giving, she just gave in. And I think at one point she said to Siddhant that, oh no, we shouldn't do it, this is wrong, she's my cousin and all of that. But the deed is done. The deed is done, even if it's a mistake, obviously. Okay, even if you consider that, oh my, it's a mistake, but then the deed is done. So I feel Deepika's decisions were bad. I mean, I personally wouldn't approve of it, but I get it because you are a messed up person, and I cannot say anything to someone who has been through a trauma. I mean, I wouldn't know. I really wouldn't know what goes in the person's mind who has been through such severe trauma. I mean, she literally saw her mother hanging. That's the scene that we saw. So that has to impact you mentally. Like that will mess you up really badly, really badly. So I don't approve of her decisions as a female or as a male also. Like I really wouldn't, uh, because that's not what I believe in. But just from a character standpoint, because all of this happens and she's at her lowest point and she gives in, from that perspective I can say that yes, I mean, she just slipped up. That way I can say that okay, yeah, maybe she just slipped up. But do I approve of it? No.
I never felt throughout the film that Zayn loved Alicia. I didn't feel any sort of love from him. It's sort of probably attraction or infatuation, or even he was also vulnerable because of not being in a good relationship with the Ananya Pandey's character. So probably then it led to that affair. But did you also feel that he never loved her the way she loved him?
Yeah, yeah. Like I told you, na, he was like he's the cunning guy.
Yeah.
Like that is the vibe I got from the beginning. He was clearly like giving us signals and all of that. And of course, he feels stuck with Ananya because of the money thing, that her father invested so much money in the business. So he clearly feels stuck. He doesn't love Ananya, but he doesn't love Deepika also, for sure, for sure. That I was very convinced with that this guy only thinks of himself, and he's an opportunist. He's just gonna back out the moment things get very, and that's what happened. That's what happened.
I when I put this question to Nona, so he says it depends on what your definition of love is. So he got a little philosophical. But I just got this feeling throughout the film that, it was never ever love from his side. Deepika probably did love him. If you remember that scene when she breaks down in front of Rajat Kapoor in the car when he's threatening her,
Right.
says I loved him. So it really told me that she had a completely different world in her own mind with him than what he.
Right.
Because I mean, if at all he loved her, he would have never tried to kill her. I mean, this guy,
Never.
yeah, just
Yeah.
he was so self-centered that he just wanted to get away with that fraud thing, and whomsoever came in the way, he was lying blatantly about that. Uh,
Correct.
Now talking about these characters, we have talked about both Siddhant and Deepika being the lead. How convinced were you of their work? For me, in this particular film, I mean, as good as he was in Gully Boy, here I didn't really feel convinced at all with his acting.
I definitely think that this was not at par with MC Sher. That was for me definitely his more superior performance. Even like his role in Inside Edge, uh, which was sort of like his debut. I think Inside Edge was his debut. I think he was much better in that also. Here it was okay. Like Siddhant was being just like a chill dude. When he in And why I say this, because in the second half when he's actually plotting to kill her, you just don't see that desperation that I want to get away with this problem, I want to get rid of this problem, she's a problem in my life right now. And I don't feel that desperation in his eyes, that I am stuck now and I'll do whatever it takes to get rid of all the obstacles. But Deepika was, oh man, I loved her in this movie. Her acting was incredible.
Yeah,
But Siddhant, so.
she has come a long way. I mean, from Om Shanti Om to this now, her growth as an actor has been immense. You can definitely keep this at least in top three, top five performances of her career. It's very mature performance, because there was a lot
uh,
of silence involved. So to be able to talk through expressions, and the eyes itself is an art which
Correct.
actors take a lot of time to work upon, and that way she was. And coming back to Siddhant, I'm not saying he's a bad actor. I can understand why people say Karthik Aryan is overrated because of his limited acting skills. But this guy is definitely a better actor. Although we should not really compare that way. But what I felt was, how he convinced me that he is MC Sher. Here,
Right.
here he couldn't convince me he's Zayn. And as you pointed out in the second half, whenever he was angry or whenever he was going a bit loud and taking his frustration out, those scenes just fell a little flat on screen for me. So I don't know if I mean, I would expect a director like Shakun Batra to be able to get better out of his actors, better than this, like Kapoor and Sons. If he can make
Oh,
an actor like Siddharth Malhotra act, if he can do that, so I was expecting much more from Siddharth Chaturvedi. And one problem that I had, couple of problems that I had with the film was A, it was way too long. For a Shakun
yeah,
Batra,
the edit. Same for me. The edit
yeah,
was a problem.
I mean, for a film like this, it's got that urban feel, right? So you would
Hmm.
expect it to be a bit shorter and crisper. Uh,
Right.
and then another problem was the first sort of 2 hours go on a slow pace, and then suddenly in the last 30-40 minutes, a lot of things pan out. It kind
Right.
of felt like they are just doing it all too conveniently, just for everything to fall into place together and connect the dots. And it gets overwhelming after a point, the turn of events and the twists coming all together one
Right.
by one. So did you feel that they could have actually gotten away with those twists and turns and it would have been a better film, or throughout the edit should have been in such a way that we wouldn't have been overwhelmed by the end?
Yeah, I think the second option, because I like the twist and turns. It was a nice touch, because it just suddenly how it became like a thriller. The way it just completely, the feel and the emotion of the film changed. I was not expecting it to become a thriller, so that was nice. I was pleasantly like taken aback by it. I said, okay, this is interesting. But then so many things happen, and suddenly, because I am, when you are watching a film and when you are with the edit and the pace of the film, you are completely like in that zone, that okay, this is what I should be expecting, this is the edit, okay, fine, this is the pace that the film is, with the film what is going. And then suddenly the movie is demanding my 100% attention, that pay attention because you will miss out on certain details and everything is important now. I was like, okay, then why didn't you, put that kind of pacing in the first half also? So that's why for me, editing, I have a mixed feelings with the editing. I understand from a narrative standpoint that you had to show Zen and Alicia's relationship in that way for the impact to be so hard, that okay, I mean, they were in a passionate affair and suddenly this guy wants to get rid of her. So that shock value is there. But then knowing Shakun Batra and what kind of pacing, I think, see, I I also don't want to compare it again and again with Kapoor and Sons, because that is a very different vibe movie and this is completely different. So that is more like a theater film, I feel. This is actually suited for OTT. Honestly, if you ask me, this wouldn't have, oh, and the kind of hate this movie is getting, it would have definitely bombed in the theaters for sure. So yeah, editing, I think first half, I was, it was all over the place for me. The visuals and Deepika's acting, and Zayn and Alicia's, that the chemistry between Siddhant and Deepika, that saved the first half, I would say. And
Music,
then the second half was fine. I actually liked the latter half of the film.
music
That
also,
was enjoyable.
music also would have.
Music though wasn't throughout like a chef's kiss. I loved the entire BGM. I loved the songs of the film.
So
I
all,
liked the place also of the songs. It was nice.
and the color grading also, very cool colors throughout, which is
Yes.
actually, ironic because of the subject of the film or what's happening in the film. It's not as cool.
Right.
Uh, Overall, where would you put Gehraiyan in terms of an experience, as a movie watcher or as a critic? Would you like recommend it to somebody who's not too keen that, okay, please, no, you should watch it at least once and then form your judgment? Or if anybody is skipping it, then you think, okay, they're not missing out on too much.
I would still say that, for people, I would recommend Gehraiya to people who are okay with different genres of film, because I understand, like specifically in my circle, I know what kind of, like, somebody likes romantic, they would prefer romantic films, something like Hridayam. Okay, they don't want to rack their brains. And someone like me, I like watch anything and everything. Just ask me to watch, okay, just watch this. And it's not because of the channel that I'm running right now. I have been like this like since forever. Like, give me any kind of, like, okay, a new kind of song has released, can you listen to this? Oh, this movie has released, please watch this. So it never has been an issue for me. But I would say that people who like, a little bit of experimental movie, a little out of the box film, I would recommend it to those. I wouldn't recommend this to everyone, because I know the kind of people who would actually appreciate the movie, kind of movie that this is. Otherwise, because you don't see these kind of genres in Bollywood very often. Very often there's something very offbeat that a mainstream director has made with mainstream actors, and he's tried to bring out something new to the table. And no, not a lot of films deals with mental trauma, suicidal thoughts, relationship, complex relationships like this. And bad things having bad consequences, and past catching up to you, so many things. Like, literally, this movie can be like a character, especially Alicia's character. If you put it in isolation, it could be a complete character study. Like, how messed up can you be? Like, as a messed up person, you are still trying to live your life as normally as you can. So people who appreciate that kind of character study and those kind of things, I would only recommend it to it. I wouldn't honestly recommend it to everybody, like, shaking them, no, 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 watch this movie, this is something different from Bollywood, because they won't appreciate it, honestly. What
And
about you?
I mean, I feel that millennials will relate to this movie much more than the previous generations, because see, the era we are living in now, I mean, it's a swipe right and left era, right? So here the concept of moving on is so common now, and that's
Hmm.
why I think the millennials will be able to, and probably that's another reason why the hype of the film was so much among the millennials.
Right.
The trailer gave it a little bit away, and they can understand why these two characters would have gotten into that situation better than the previous few generations, because it wasn't as common, or it wasn't talked about as much in our
Right.
society, which it is being now. It's definitely not a taboo subject, but then again, it's morally a wrong thing to do if you are in a committed relationship. So
Right.
I feel it's a niche film. It's not
Right.
everybody's cup of tea. So I'm
Right.
pretty sure that whichever whomsoever is interested in watching, they will find a way to watch it. They will find a reason to watch it. Either they would have
Mhm.
seen these kind of things happening around them, or they would have themselves been involved in it at some point in time. So just to be able to relate to it, I'm sure this film
Right.
will reach them and strike the right chord. Uh, and a pleasant surprise, Nasiruddin Shah. I mean, his performance, and we have seen this kind of effortless cakewalk from him in a lot of films in recent times. Uh,
Right.
Zindagi Na Milegi Dobara cameo is also being compared with this. But I think the scenes between him and Deepika were they took the cake, right? The biggest piece of cake, because when
Stand out, big
yeah,
standout.
when two good actors come together, and the way that they were reacting off of each other's energy and the dialogues, I think for me those were the scenes of the film.
I didn't even feel it was scripted. So
Yeah.
at one point, I was like, this feels like a very natural conversation. Like literally, like a father-daughter moment is happening over there. That's how good the acting was. And Deepika, like you said, the scar scene when Rajat Kapoor is confronting her and all, the way she breaks down. I was like, dude, like, oh my God, this lady can act so well. I'm so like I was feeling really proud of her because I've I've literally followed her career since Om Shanti Om. I've, I don't think I've barely skipped her movies. Like the horrible ones I've not watched, but I've barely skipped any of her films. I've watched most of her films. So just to see her in this character and how she was so natural. I remember people used to make fun of her dialogue delivery and all of that so much initially. I mean, now, I mean, she has shut her haters down clearly.
I will definitely put this, at par with this her performance in Tamasha, or even Cocktail, for that reason. So I mean,
Hmm.
the graph is definitely on the up. And you talked about Rajat Kapoor. Thankfully, it reminded me he was also like a shining light in the film. He made his presence felt, which he does in all his films. So a small role, but definitely left a mark, right?
Right. Rajat Kapoor, Nasiruddin Shah, I think both of them, they were like nice. I was very happy to see them, shine in their particular little roles, and they know how to create an impact. Like I said, for Nasiruddin Shah, like you said, it's like a cakewalk. He doesn't. I don't think even he has to take any cues from the director. I think Shakun Batra would have been like, "ये है script, आप हो इनके, अब आप पढ़ लो और आप देख लो, आपसे हो जाएगा." I think it would have been like that because, like I said, it felt a genuine father-daughter moment to me at that point.
Even Rajat
It was
Kapoor, I
amazing.
mean, he was in Kapoor and Son, so it's good that Shakun is sticking to his team of actors. Just before we end this, we forgot to touch upon Ananya Pandey's performance. I mean, it is, of course, it's a given that she's not as skilled or experienced as these other actors we talked about. I'm sure there is at least a bit of ingredients there to work upon, and a good director will definitely get it out of her. Keeping aside the whole Nepo kid debate that always comes up with people like her, but anyway, I think by now people who really wanted to see Gehraiyaan, it's been a week, and
They would have watched it.
they would
Yeah.
have definitely watched, and they would also have their opinions. So let's hope even if they don't align with our opinions, guys, put it in the comments what you thought of it, and if
Hmm.
you agree with what Ashmita and I talked about or not. Thank you for coming to All Things Cinema podcast, Ashmita. Really enjoyed this conversation. Really wanted to have a female perspective on this film. So thank you for giving us that. And yeah, so we'll see you very soon. Thank you.
Ta-da!
And I forgot again. See, subscribe to the channel. Hit the like button, and put the comments,
Share, comment, help the algorithm.
and that bell. Hit the bell icon so that you get all the notifications. All right. Thank you.